In this video, I'm going to add the snow tops to our mountains and add the pepperonis and a few other shapes to our pizza topping. Coming in, what I'm going to do is use my selection tool to duplicate one of these triangles. By holding the Alt key, I can click and move and create another triangle. If that doesn't work because I haven't selected before, I'm going to edit, undo, and one more time. Holding my Alt key down, click and drag to duplicate. If you notice, I failed right there in front of you. Edit, undo, and redo the process. Now, what I'm going to do here next is I'm going to use the star to make my shape. And I'm not sure how many points I use in my design, but I'm going to come in and I'm going to create a star by clicking, and I'm going to make this have 8 points. And it starts by making the radius be this and this. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm just going to see okay how big that is. Now, holding my selection tool, or in my selection tool, holding my shift key down, I click and drag the corner to make it smaller. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate so I have one of these points facing straight down. So go just off the edge of my selection tool to get the rotate tool to make sure I have one point facing straight down. Now, I'm going to hold the Alt key, or never mind, just move it over. And if it's not on top, I'm going to make sure it's on top by doing a right click and arrange and bring to front. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select both, and I'm going to use the Shape Builder tool to delete the extra portion of star that I don't need. Coming in, I have it all selected. We have intersections. I zoom in to see what I'm working on by holding the Alt key down and using my scroll wheel. And then I come in and hold the Alt key and select the outside path. And all I have left is my snow-covered mountain. Now, the easier way to do this would most likely be to come in and select the mountains I made previously and just delete them. And then hold the Alt key down after I select all of these. I'm actually going to right click and group so I have my star piece and my other piece working together. Another thing I can do actually instead of grouping is coming over here to my Shape Builder tool and clicking on the top piece and on the bottom piece. If you notice it adds a few lines here, I can trim up by holding the Alt key. Just closing those shapes. Edit, undo. Click and drag it through to make that one shape. Edit, undo. It's kind of being a pain, so I'm just going to select it, and I'm going to right click and group these two shapes. Now that I've done that, if I select, it selects everything, and I hold the Alt key to click and drag my mountains where they belong. And lastly, if my mountains are in order, in the wrong order, I can select the one I want, right click it, and then make sure I arrange it from front to back. I'm going to move this other shape over, just an extra piece that I have, and I've accidentally slipped it in there. You see what happened as I grabbed this at the bottom by going into isolation mode. I'm going to edit, undo, and edit, undo, and now I have everything selected, so I can move that off to the side. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some shapes to represent my toppings. Coming in, I'm going to hold the Shift key down while being in the Ellipse tool to make some perfect circles. They're black and white. That's my pepperoni. The next piece I'm going to add is a green olive. Sorry, edit, undo. I want to be in the rectangle tool. Or black olive, whatever you want this to represent. Doesn't matter to me. Just a rectangle. And then, lastly, a black olive, which would be the circle in a circle. Clicking and dragging with the Shift key held down. Right, zooming in so I can see what I'm doing. And make another circle, but smaller on top. So hold the Alt key, click and drag, hold the Shift key down so it stays in the same resolution or ratio. Make it a few bumps smaller, and then move this on top. And then lastly, Shape Builder. By selecting, making sure I have my shapes made there, go to my Shape Builder tool, holding the Alt key to trim out the inside, so I don't have this inside piece. And I can then make that piece smaller also, by clicking and dragging to select it all, and holding my Shift key to make that portion smaller. Now, I've made pepperoni, my green olive, or green pepper, whatever you want to call it, and then also my black olive. I'm going to place some of these where I have them in my drawing. So coming in, I select, hold the Alt key down to click and drag a few pepperonis to where they're going to be on the pizza. There's one there. There's another one in the middle. I'm just holding the Alt key down as I click and drag around, adding these pieces of pepperoni. And I'm going to do the same thing with my piece right here. I'm going to zoom in so I can actually get my navigator tool to show up there. That's what I want. And I can click and move to make a few of these pieces. Accidentally rotated that one. Not a big deal. They can be rotated all the different directions. And then lastly, the same thing with my black olive. Just making a few. And now I'm going to come in and move them to where they need to be. And lastly, I'm going to use my Shape Builder tool to clean up the ones that don't need to be there. So coming in, moving my black olives, just putting a few on there. Now, if I have shapes that go outside the edge, what I'm going to do is use my Selection tool to click and drag through to select all of this, and then use my Shape Builder tool along with the Alt key to click and drag or click on the pieces I want to delete. I don't want this surface there. I do want this, but I want it to be in one on top, so I click and drag through it. Down here, get rid of these extra, get rid of this extra. If you notice, I actually deleted the wrong portion. I'm going to edit undo. 2 steps to get back so I don't end up getting rid of my rectangle on the bottom. And zoom back in and retry my Alt selection of the shapes I don't want to be there. Edit undo. And clicking and dragging through sometimes is the better option, but I went too far there. And then Alt click on this portion to get rid of it. One more piece down here. Now this will give us good practice using the Shape Builder tool. I messed up again, so edit undo, hold the Alt key down. Actually, I'm gonna just click and drag through to add these 2 pieces together. And then lastly, getting rid of this piece one more time. Deselecting to see what it looks like so far. But now I have my piece of pizza with toppings added. Doesn't look exactly like the same thing, so I need to add mushrooms and sausage still, but that's the middle video, video 2. Thank you for watching.